This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices eased on Wednesday, with global benchmark Brent hovering near a one-month low hit in the prior session on signs of weakening demand in China, although losses were capped by declining U.S. oil stockpiles. Brent crude oil futures fell 15 cents, or 0.2%, to $83.58 a barrel by 0620 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures eased 13 cents, or 0.2%, to $80.63. Both benchmarks dropped in the three prior sessions, with Brent crude futures trading as low as $83.30 on Tuesday, the lowest since June 17.
China's crude oil market is unambiguously weak. Not only has the world's biggest importer seen a fall in arrivals in the first half of the year, it has also been boosting the volumes being added to stockpiles. China added 1.48 million barrels per day, BPD, to either commercial or strategic oil stockpiles in June as lower refinery throughput outweighed soft crude imports. For the first half of 2024, China put about 900,000 barrels of oil per day into storage tanks, and this amount has been accelerating in recent months.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Japan plans to increase jet fuel production and imports to address a pickup in demand from flights amid a boom in tourism, according to a draft government plan presented on Tuesday. The initiative aims to tackle a recent jet fuel shortage affecting commercial flights, which has hindered the expansion of international flight capacity and the introduction of new routes. Tourism to Japan bounced back after visa-free travel resumed in late 2022 following strict COVID-19 border controls, with the yen's slide to a 38-year low increasing the country's appeal to overseas visitors.
Greece will impose a one-off windfall tax on its power producers over the next 2 months and use the proceeds to help subsidize power bills for households already strained by a cost of living crisis, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said late on Tuesday. Wholesale electricity prices have surged in recent weeks, and Mitsotakis said consumers would bear the burden unless the government takes measures. Therefore, the government has decided to impose a one-off levy on gas-fired power producers and use the proceeds to be able to alleviate electricity bills in August, he said in an interview with Sky TV. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Dalian iron ore futures prices fell for a second consecutive session on Wednesday, undermined by weak seasonal demand from top consumer China and mounting global supply. The most traded September iron ore contract on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange ended morning trade nearly 0.5% lower at 823 yuan, $113.23, a metric ton. The benchmark August iron ore on the Singapore Exchange was steady at $107.10 a ton, as of 0337 GMT. The fall in iron ore futures comes amid concerns of weak demand in China just as supply increases, ANZ analysts said in a note.
China plans to cut carbon emissions in its coal power industry by piloting the firing of power plants using coal mixed with either green ammonia or biomass, as well as by carbon capture, utilization and storage. Carbon-intensive coal power continues to be the primary source of energy in the world's top energy consumer, though the government is working to develop renewable energy supplies. The new approaches were listed in a government plan issued jointly by the National Development and Reform Commission and the National Energy Administration.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Egypt's state grains buyer bought 770,000 metric tons of mostly Russian wheat in an international tender, marking its biggest single purchase since 2022 following a dip in Russian prices. The purchase comprised 50,000 metric tons of Bulgarian wheat and 720,000 metric tons of Russian wheat, the General Authority for Supply Commodities said. Russian wheat had the lowest price in the tender as traders believe that Russia's unofficial minimum export price floor was not implemented. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.